In 1805, the French Empire under Napoleon Bonaparte dominated on land, while Britain controlled the seas with its navy, enforcing a blockade that restricted French trade and naval operations. Napoleon sought to invade Britain, requiring control of the English Channel. The French fleets, stationed in Brest and Toulon, were supported by their Spanish allies. However, the British Navy was highly experienced, whereas the French had lost many of their best officers due to the Revolution. Napoleon's plan involved the French and Spanish fleets breaking blockades, joining forces, and clearing the Channel for an invasion. In early 1805, Vice Admiral Nelson led the British fleet in a loose blockade of Toulon, hoping to lure the French out to battle. However, storms allowed French Admiral Villeneuve to escape, and Nelson mistakenly searched the Mediterranean, believing the French were heading to Egypt. Villeneuve instead sailed through the Strait of Gibraltar, joined Spanish forces in Cadiz, and sailed for the Caribbean. Nelson pursued, but missed them by days. After luring the British to the West Indies, Villeneuve returned to Europe, aiming to break the blockade at Brest. The British intercepted his fleet at the Battle of Cape Finisterre, but it was inconclusive, and Villeneuve retreated to Ferrol. Napoleon's invasion of Britain hired Villeneuve's fleet to join forces at Brest, but Villeneuve instead sailed to Cadiz, fearing British surveillance. This move ended the immediate invasion threat as Napoleon's army left Boulogne. Nelson returned to Britain after 2 years at sea, but soon resumed command. British forces, reduced in the English Channel, formed the core of the fleet that would engage at Trafalgar. Villeneuve received an order from Napoleon to move towards Italy, but ignored it. On October 18th, he was instructed to stay in Cadiz and wait for his replacement, but he again disregarded the order, taking the Allied fleet to sea on October 20th. On the 21st, Villeneuve's French navy neared the Straits of Gibraltar, and Nelson allowed them to move away from Cadiz to prevent retreat. By dawn, the British fleet was spotted, and Villeneuve, surprised by the British strength, attempted to return to harbour. However, due to a lack of training, the Allied fleet formed a disorganised line. Nelson split his fleet into 2 groups. He personally led the northern squadron of 13 ships with HMS Victory, while Vice Admiral Collingwood led the southern squadron of 14 ships with HMS Royal Sovereign. By midday, the fleets were just 5 kilometres off Cape Trafalgar. Nelson's plan for the Battle of Trafalgar aimed to break the superior Franco-Spanish fleet into chaotic ship-to-ship battles. Instead of the standard single line of battle, he proposed attacking into columns, one targeting the centre and the other the trailing end of the enemy line, isolating the middle third, particularly the French flagship, Bucentaure. As the Battle of Trafalgar commenced, the French and Spanish fleets formed a disorganised curved line, while the British approached into columns. Nelson executed a feint before turning to attack, with Collingwood adjusting his course to converge with Nelson's line of attack. Royal Sovereign engaged the Allied forces under heavy fire, breaking the enemy line and inflicting significant damage. Collingwood's flagship came under attack by 4 enemy ships, but reinforcements soon arrived to defend its right side. As more English vessels entered the battle and tried to breach the Allied line, Collingwood remained outnumbered at first. The poor positioning of the Allied Navy prevented their second line from providing support, and by 14 o'clock, most of the first-line ships had either been sunk or forced to surrender. Meanwhile, Victory was under fire for nearly an hour before responding and subsequently delivered a devastating broadside to the French flagship Bucentaure, effectively neutralizing it. A chaotic melee followed, during which Nelson was mortally wounded by a musket shot from Redoubtable. Despite his injury, British ships continued to overpower the Franco-Spanish fleet. capturing numerous vessels without losing any of their own. By 14 o'clock, Villeneuve realized he was losing the battle and ordered his northern ships to join the fight against the British fleet. However, the signal was missed, marking the Allied fleet's final mistake. Villeneuve's flagship, Vue Centaur, surrendered, and by the time reinforcements arrived, most Central Allied ships were destroyed or captured. Collingwood took command of the British Navy and ordered Nelson's squadron to intercept the French reinforcements. The remaining Allied ships retreated, and the British achieved a complete victory, capturing 18 enemy ships. Nelson passed away after hearing of the victory. The French defeat at Trafalgar solidified Britain's control of the seas and destroyed Napoleon's dreams of launching an invasion of Britain. 2 months later, Napoleon gained a decisive victory at Austerlitz, forcing Austria out of the war and leading to the dissolution of the Holy Roman Empire.